Due to some good luck and hard work, me and my wife are owning several apartments and properties. My brother, who was always more of an artist, soul searcher, used to live in one of my apartments. I charged him very little, just enough to cover maintenance, because he is my little brother and I want him to be taken care of. My brother had an abusive girlfriend. My wife and I disliked her. She called him names, etc. in public and was constantly belittling him. I do not appreciate somebody talking down on my family, and I often had a hard time not yelling at her on his behalf. Well, as luck would have it, she got pregnant and demanded to move in with my brother. I disliked that idea as well, but how can I not allow my brother's kid a roof over his head? I mean, family first. The baby came, and as my brother and I are very pale people, and his girlfriend is also very pale, the chances of him being the father are slim. He called me crying from the hospital, and I advised him not to sign the birth certificate and get a test. I mean, genes are weird. Maybe there is something in us we don't know of, so there is a chance he is the father. The test came back. He is not the father. He moved out of mine apartment, and has been staying with me and my wife. I was in a bad spot as I was raging against his ex-girlfriend. Also, I did not want her in my apartment. My wife convinced me that if it was okay for my brother, he didn't care. I should let her stay for 6 months so she could sort things out. So me and my wife agreed on the following. My brother's lease is up in 3 months. And after that, we are willing to rent the apartment for normal market prices to her for 6 months, but not longer. This will give her 9 months to figure out what to do. I felt our offer was more than fair. So I called her and told her to meet me at my office. So the date came, she brought her child and some dude that I didn't know as a witness. Fair enough. I had a witness too, my wife being with me. I tell her our offer and she starts screaming right away how I dared to triple the rent in 3 months. And if I want her and a child homeless. I tell her this is not much of my concern. I regret the situation for the child, but she has 3 months of the cheap lease, paid by my brother, to find something that suits her better. If she's not leaving, I will evict her. So there we are. You're not the a-hole, OP. This woman cheated on her boyfriend and almost made her a father to a kid that wasn't his. She sounds horrible. Not to mention how bad you said she treated him even when they were together. I would say your brother dodged a huge bullet with this one. And you and your wife should be commended for putting your anger and hurt aside and thinking about a newborn. She's unappreciative. Just do your part. After the free 3 months rent, you can evict her. You've done your best. Now for some comments. I mean, sounds like she's looking for a handout even after cheating on your brother, not the a-hole. But beware, sounds like you may want to take measures to ensure you have some sort of security deposit or something, because it doesn't sound like she will be leaving without some extra damages. Best of luck, OP. To you and your brother, may his soul searching continue. Not the a-hole. You gave your little brother the family discount. She's not family, and her son isn't even your nephew. So there is no family discount here. You didn't triple her rent. You gave her the market value price, the fair price. I would even say you're incredibly generous because if it were up to me, I would never allow a lying B-word who tried to trick my little brother into moving into my property. I would have just told her she's no longer welcome and that her belongings need to be out the door by the time the lease is up. Absolutely not the a-hole. This woman doesn't even deserve the kindness you're extending to her now. You owe her nothing, your brother owes her nothing. If anything, she deserves to get kicked out on her ass. She can go find the father of her child and have him roof her. Don't feel bad for somebody who's only abused your brother and even went as far to try and trap him with a baby that is not his. If I were you, I would kick her out now. She's not gonna pay rent, and it's gonna be a hell of a time evicting her and cost you even more months and possible damage. She's clearly pissed at you, and she's going to hurt you in the wallet if she can't hurt you anywhere else. Like I would say to anybody, I know I suggest you get rid of her. Baby or not, it's not your problem. Story 2. This is extremely difficult to talk about with anyone I actually know, and is a secret from a lot of friends and family members. Posting on an alternative in the hope that people here can give me an honest answer. My husband of 10 years had an affair that lasted approximately 6 months. He cut it off when I found out. We went to couples counseling, etc. Turns out the woman was pregnant though, and intent on keeping the baby. I understood that if she gave birth, my husband would have to do his part in supporting that child, at the very least financially. Tragically though, the baby was stillborn. I wasn't looking forward to this baby coming, but I didn't wish for this either. My husband's former mistress has sent details about the funeral. I don't think he should attend. He never got to meet this child and wasn't even there at the hospital when everything happened. If this was a child he knew at all, of course my opinion would be different. But as of now, I don't feel comfortable with him going. He bizarrely said maybe I should go with him. That is a no. I obviously am not going to attend this funeral and make the woman and her whole family uncomfortable. Despite my disdain for her, I'm not going to disrupt her mourning. There are a few people in the family that are aware of the situation. My husband's sister, my mother-in-law, and my mother. His sister thinks he should go to the funeral. My mother says if he goes, I should divorce him. Mother-in-law refuses to comment on the situation at all. So I'm at a loss, really. Am I in the wrong given the circumstances? OP, I can't even start to comprehend what you are going through right now. It definitely must have hurt when you found out about your husband's affair and when you found out about the baby. I'm sorry this happened to you. Your husband might have not gotten to see the baby, but I'm sure he was already making plans and doing things for this child of his. He should get to grieve, and if he wants to go to the funeral, he should get to go. I understand that it's too hard for you to go, but someone in your family could go with him. Just let him say goodbye to his child whom he never got to meet. Now for some comments. Attending a funeral is never about achieving anything, other than just saying goodbye to your loved one. I think the man should go if he wants to go. Obviously, he has been an a-hole to his wife in the last year, but that doesn't mean he doesn't get to attend his own child's funeral. It's 100% his choice. 100%. If he doesn't want to go, that's different. If OP forces this, I don't think it will give her the result she's after. No a-holes here. I can't see anyone being in the wrong here. About the funeral, your husband is obviously the a-hole for having a mistress. It's complicated. His child did die, but I can also see how you are hurt by the whole thing, even existing, and the funeral is just a reminder of that. I would let him go, but I don't think you're the a-hole for not wanting him to either. Everyone sucks for sure. The time for a divorce was when he cheated, or because you couldn't get past it, not because of an innocent child's funeral. Your mom sucks, he sucks, you suck. His mom thinks he should go, by the way. She just doesn't want to upset you. Oh, F it though, I'm gonna say it. You're the a-hole. We aren't judging your husband for cheating in this post, we are judging you over the baby's funeral. It doesn't matter if he never met the baby. Are you seriously saying anyone who never knew a stillborn baby shouldn't attend a funeral? Because it's not like they ever met. Come on. I commend you for being wise enough to know that you shouldn't be at the funeral, but let the man go. If he's gonna keep cheating on you, he's gonna do that no matter what you try to do. Story 3. My husband and I used to be petroleum engineers and are retired now. We have 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. They had a rough childhood because we were in relative poverty at the time. It wasn't until my husband and I started and subsequently sold our own company did we start to have a nice life. They were under 10 at the time, all of them. We promised our children to pay for their weddings. Our eldest daughter, 33 now, got married in 2013 and divorced a year later. We paid for the wedding to our daughter's specification and it cost us to the tune of $30,000. We've regretted it ever since because the money has effectively been wasted. She has no further interest in ever getting married. Our son, who is 35, has zero interest in getting married. He's expressed this sentiment for the last 15 years. and we have no reason to believe he'll change his mind. Our youngest daughter, who is 30 now, was proposed to by a very sweet and kind man last year. They already have 2 children, my only grandchildren, so I know it will last. But my husband and I don't want to go through another wedding. We've become disillusioned with the idea of weddings, especially paying for them. We told our daughter, "We will give you $40,000 if you get married at the courthouse. Just don't have a wedding ceremony." They own their own house outright and have no debt, so this is money for them to invest or put into savings, or get properties to rent for passive income, or even throw in a fire. We don't care. We're just adamant in our money not being spent on a wedding, because we think it's a waste of money. My daughter's fiancé is relenting to whatever my daughter wants, but has told me in private he doesn't believe in weddings either. He wants to get married, but more of an elopement, a small 20-person thing, not a full-blown 300-person wedding like my elder daughter. My daughter is staunch in a decision to have a wedding though. To us the choice is clear. If they have a wedding, we will not pay for it. That's the end of it. If they get married in a courthouse or in some other fashion, we'll pay for it and give them $40,000. My daughter argues we're blackmailing them, not even knowing her fiancé doesn't want a wedding anyways. Are we the a-holes for doing it this way? Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. You promised your kids you would pay for their weddings. You have no money issues and have a strong belief that this one will last. In essence, you're trying to use this $40K to strong-arm them into the wedding that you want them to have. Or don't want them to have, as it may. Just give them the $40K. Tell them you would prefer they use the money for something else, but that in the end it's theirs to do with as they wish. You're the a-hole. You made a promise to your children, and you're breaking it to one daughter because of something your other daughter did. You have $40,000 that you're happy to give to her and her fiancé, so your decision has nothing to do with your financial situation changing. If you hadn't made the promise, if you hadn't paid for one child's wedding, and if your financial situation had changed, the situation would be different. But as it stands, you're being an a-hole. You're the a-hole. I'm very sorry, but you are essentially blackmailing your daughter, and you are letting her pay for her older sister's mistake. That the fiancé doesn't want a big wedding is a completely different issue, and you should ask him to talk to your daughter about it. But it's all up to them to choose the wedding they want. You are not being true to your word, and even worse, you are treating your children very differently and trying to force your belief about weddings onto your daughter. Maybe there's some backstory to this, but from what you've written, it's pretty clear. Story 4. My flatmate and I have been splitting rent, living together for 1.5 years. She's my mom's co-worker's daughter, and there's a loose arrangement that both parents help us with rent. Living in the UK is rough, so both of us sort of go along with this arrangement as it helps both of us save on finances. She's a young mom with 2 kids aged 7 and 8. Because she's still in her 20s, she will often go out most nights and go to parties, clubs, etc. And in general, she is more of a fun mummy than a more stable one. Over time, I frustratedly realized she will leave the kids with me and be out all night, etc. Lately, her kids have been calling me dad, with direct encouragement from their mum. She laughs and says it's cute, films me and them without any of our consent and says, "Daddy's here," etc. I don't like this and have constantly called the police anytime I suspect she's about to leave them with me, etc., who come around and talk to her every time, but that's it. I finally told the kids that I'm not their dad, even though I'm sure on a visceral level they already knew that. And they were visibly upset. My flatmate, her mum, and my mum are all saying what I did was terribly cruel, and that everyone knows it takes a village to raise kids and that it was obvious I should be helping looking after the kids. If I'm living there and that I need to grow the F up, am I the a-hole? Edit. I was never told this was part of the deal, but everyone else, including my own mum, apparently thinks it was. I don't understand why they're so actively against me pointing out I'm not the father of these kids. My own mum is disgusted that I'm not helping look after the kids, or that I have an issue with it. She says in her day, everyone chipped in. I have no idea why she thinks that sort of village raising is applicable to me, since it's not the same thing, at least in my opinion. It's really unfair to the kids, and especially because I never saw my own dad growing up. It's really painful that their mom is encouraging them to call someone that, when she knows full well, is untrue. I feel for them. I can't really even get my work done because I'm so stressed about the kids when I hear the front door close shut behind her. Sometimes she comes back quickly, sometimes she doesn't. It's a toss-up. She is a really strong-willed lass, and if I told her to grow up once, I must have done it 100 times. Her mindset is firmly, it's just a laugh, it's cute. Why can't you watch them since my mum did your mum a favor, etc. It's really frustrating. I'm desperate to be out because her behavior has escalated recently to unprecedented levels. But there's basically a housing ban on moving right now, so I'm stuck for the unforeseeable future. I completely agree with you. I'm desperate to move, but I have to wait until everything blows over. I've already made arrangements with a mate who lived in a more affluent area, so rent will be quite high. But on the plus side, the poor bastard has offered to lend me his bike when this is all said and done. I can cycle to work and maybe save £250 on my current Oyster fare, so at least that will help. Yeah, screw her. She's doing this deliberately to stick the child support on you, OP. Leave. Run, OP. These kids aren't your problem. Stop worrying of them. When someone decides to become a parent, they must be fully dedicated, either fully or not at all. You can't merely be a half-there parent, frequently leaving your children with others and hoping they won't face problems later in life. This may seem severe, but if she wasn't prepared to have children, she should have surrendered them for adoption right after birth or opted for more reliable birth control methods. Now for some comments. Not the a-hole. It takes a village doesn't mean my roommate is now my babysitter while I go party, and also a surrogate father for my children. This could have been such a great situation for everyone. There would have been a stable male presence in their life, even if he's a friend or uncle and not a dad. But instead she's blaming you for her wanting to run from her parental responsibilities. That's just really wrong. Those kids will be so confused if she brings another man home. They might be too young to understand, but I would have a serious talk with your mother. She should be supporting you. And talk with your roommate. Tell her you don't want to be associated as their dad. You did the right thing telling those kids. If this is not made up, then dude, you gotta really think about continuing to live with this family. With how astoundingly weird family courts can be, I can totally imagine you being held up as daddy and have to end up paying for this person and her kids. I mean, fuck, she's taking videos of you and encouraging this daddy shit. OMG. Again, if this is a real post, then really consider your living arrangements in the near future. Story 5. I, 17, moved in with my mom for what was supposed to be a 2-week period to help her recover from a minor surgery. The minor surgery then became something worse, and she has fractured her lower spine. With unclear reasons how it happened, the theory is the way she laid for the surgery combined with her vertebrae fusing, and under the pressure of her own weight, a little less than 400 pounds, caused the fracture. I was supposed to only take care of her basic needs. Now I feel like a full-on nurse. I've had to feed her, help her in and out of bed, and even wipe her ass. Gross. On top of that, I've been in charge of my sister, 7, and had to take care of her needs too. I'm also trying to do high school with all this. Online learning sucks, but I'm trying to wrap up senior year, which makes it worse. My mother is a mega narcissist. Always has been. She believes she's entitled to bossing us around because she birthed us. She especially loves to pull a victim card. This whole ordeal has only fueled that and made it worse. And she's made it worse for me because I'm not really a pity person. So I don't really show emotions to fuel her issues because I was hoping she would leave me alone. I've spent the past month and a half being berated and belittled and lectured and yelled at for doing normal things. I can't even do my classwork anymore without being screamed at for having an attitude and backtalk for saying I'm busy. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take care of her? Edit. My parents are divorced. I lived full-time at my father's before moving into my mom's to help for a short amount of time. It became longer after I got here because it got worse the week I was here. The way it's looking now, I might end up here playing nurse for another 4 months at least. My other family members don't care enough to step in full-time. My teachers can't really do anything to help either. She was in a physical therapy place, but she got sent home after she was supposedly recovering. She turned to the hospital 2 days later, and they took care of her and then sent her home on strict bed rest. I'm the home health aide in her mind. I don't have to carry her, but I do have to do way more than most people my age. I already dropped 4 classes. I don't want to really vent to my teachers because it's online and they can't do anything. And they don't really have an answer for me other than, oh well, work it out and manage your time better. And my other family doesn't give 2 shits. I know because I asked. Update. Here's an update if anyone was keeping an eye on my post. I've been at my dad's since the 31st. My mom ended up pushing me into a full-on breakdown and she was being super pissy. I got mad and told her off because I'm not her mother or her maid. And she told me that I was being dramatic. I ended up in a screaming match and called my dad hysterically, sobbing, and he came and got me. I have not spoken to my mother since, but she keeps trying to guilt-trip me and gaslight me. The only thing I'm guilty over is leaving my sister over there on Halloween after talking about all the fun stuff we were going to do. But I think if I had stayed any longer, it would have been worse than just the screaming match. I'm conflicted over what to do this weekend because it's my sister's birthday and I don't want to miss it. But going means I'll have to see my mother and listen to her bullshit. My dad has also taken much delight in poking fun and saying he was right over my mom being batshit. And he's taken every opportunity to make fun of me for flipping out over not doing simple chores. Part of me wants to post the pictures of how bad those chores were, but I don't know how to convert those to an image link. He keeps trying to test my patience and I'm pretty close to snapping again. But I won't have any way to go if I try to snap at him too. I've taken to isolating myself in my room or the basement when I can. I've also had several family members call me and tell me to apologize to my mom and that I was being an a-hole and dramatic and that she needs my help and I was being unfair to her. What they don't realize is that this isn't just the whole bedridden thing. She's always been like this. She's always treated me like a domestic servant and I finally had enough. Before I broke down, I called and told several people that I needed a break. And people told me to deal with it because my mom needs help. Thanks to everyone who offered advice. But I'm unsure if I really am in a better spot where I am now. You don't have to face this alone. You're a child. You need help. I truly wish you understand that. This isn't your fault. You're in an extremely difficult situation for your age, feeling isolated and without support. Please don't lose hope in yourself. It might appear as though there's no one to help you, but continue to seek support. I believe you'll discover the assistance you're looking for. Please remember that no one here is judging you. You're not a failure, but you're being hard on yourself. This is not a personal attack, but a recognition that many people, regardless of age or situation, do this to themselves. I hope for your well-being. I wish you the strength to make the best choices for yourself. Now for some comments. You are still a child and it's absolutely unreasonable for her to force you to carry all this weight. Your mother needs a professional healthcare aid. Your education and well-being is important. Her neglecting that fact to use you as her nurse is entirely selfish and inappropriate. No, this is not okay. I am a nurse. I have done home care and recognize the level of care your mother needs. It cannot be met by a 17-year-old minor who is still in school. The fact that you have chosen to drop 4 subjects is proof of that. Your mother is sabotaging your future for her own selfishness. Please stop saying I can't and look at what I can. You can talk to your school counselor about unsafe home environment and child abuse. You can temporarily move yourself out of the house until they find a solution. You can say, "Mom, I can't do this anymore." No is a complete sentence. Story 6. I married my current husband 7 years ago. He has 3 children from a previous marriage, and I have my daughter from a previous one as well. 2 of his children are in college right now, and 1 graduated in May, and my daughter is starting high school in August. I really want my daughter to go to a top-tier school, as my daughter has stated many times she wants to either go to Johns Hopkins, Stanford, NYU, or Columbia. My stepchildren go to state colleges. Yesterday, all of us were together for a birthday when I mentioned my daughter. M would start SAT classes. My eldest son Jay remarked that he and his sister B and R never took SAT prep and did just fine. This led me to discuss how M wants to go to a prestigious school that would demand a higher testing score. This led B, who for context purpose is always trying to start a fight even on a family occasion, to ask how M would get scholarships to live somewhere and go to school at private colleges. Their father, my husband, refused to allow his children, with agreement with their mother, to send off to private or out-of-state schools due to the high tuition. So it would not be that far-fetched that now, with his children locked in their current schools that both of their parents wanted, that my husband and I would send my daughter to a nicer college. My ex-husband and I have not discussed yet what we would like for M, but my ex-husband does have 2 kids with his new wife. I think my ex-husband would be fine if my husband and I paid for M's college tuition and expenses. B hitched a fit that it wouldn't be fair for her siblings and herself if M got to go out of state. I told her that paying for 3 children to go out of state would be a lot of money, but that just paying for 1 is not as expensive. Also, I reminded them that their own mother agreed that they should stay in state for the lower tuition. B argued that her mother is still unmarried and could not afford the costs. So I had to repeat again that 3 children out of state is a heavy burden compared to 1. I also said that her father and I share finances, so sending M to SAT prep and other things is my right to do. If my husband had wanted his children to go out of state with our money, I would not have been mad, which I told my stepchildren. It's really a matter to discuss with their own parents, not me. B then called me an ass, to which I told her to not use language like that. B told me I was being inconsiderate, so I had my husband ask her to back off and calm down, to which she refused. B, even though she's an adult, acts very immaturely with her stepsister and always has ever since we got married. B is 8 years older than M, but acts younger. I'm taking her comments with a grain of salt, but I would like to gain outside opinions on this. B and her siblings were quiet the rest of the evening, and B was probably trying to stir up more drama as it is. I'm getting tired, frankly, of how she is constantly undermining me in front of everyone when I'm really just trying to better my daughter's life. It's not my fault my husband and his ex-wife would not send their children out of state. His children act very entitled to our money, but the way they conduct themselves causes me to doubt they really want a relationship with their father, and instead just want our money. It's all about money to them. I know they are happy with their current education, but the second M gets something remotely nice, they all freak out on me. So, do I really deserve to be called an ass when it's not my fault they're jealous and acting entitled? Please feel free to give any insight about this, so maybe I can try to communicate with B better. Edit. I have discussed with him that my daughter has strong ambitions and that a school like Johns Hopkins, etc. would be the best for her. He said he would like to help me achieve this for her. I think my husband is very close and fond of my daughter because his children, 1, mainly lived with their mother as teens, and 2, are now in college and are rarely home. I have primary custody of my daughter, so he spends more time with her and is able to see how bright she shines. If he favors her over his own, which would not be wrong, it's not my fault. And either way, he will be paying for my daughter because we have all joint accounts. His money is my money and my money is his money. It's not my fault for my husband straining his relationship with his children. It's all about money to them. And money is not the most important thing in the world. If this is what makes them resent him, that reflects more on their character instead of mine and his. And anytime my daughter does anything remotely expensive, like go see Hamilton with her friends, go to New York City, or visit family in Nashville, they see it as her getting spoiled. When they were able to go to concerts and such when they were children. I'm not planning on divorcing as we have a happy marriage. Now for some comments. The way that I read this, your husband didn't want to send his kids away because of expenses, and it's highly unlikely that he would want to pay even more for school for a child that isn't his. I think it's awfully unfair to expect more from your husband for your child than his own, even if you are married. I think if he agrees to help pay for your daughter at any college, he's extremely kind to do so. You come off a little evil stepmotherish with your sense of entitlement. I understand wanting the best for your kid, and by your logic that seems to be the responsibility of the biological parent. Also noteworthy is that if your daughter wants to go to a high-class school, she should be working day and night getting scholarships to ease that burden. Just because a kid likes the idea of attending a top-notch school does not mean they deserve to.